Hi, this is Ms. Morello. I will be doing the introduction to segment lengths in circles, which will be on page 9 in your notes. So these pictures right here might look familiar to you. We just did a whole unit with angles created when we have secants and chords and tangent lines intersecting. Well, this time we're going to be looking at the segments themselves. Okay? So let's start with this first one when we have intersecting chords rule. We're going to be looking at two chords here. I'm going to make one of them blue, and I'm going to make the other one green. Now for these, we're going to have to memorize a couple of formulas. Okay, so the first formula I want you to think of is part times part. And notice how they're both in blue, so that'll be your A and your B. And that's going to equal the other two parts on the green chord multiplied together. Okay, so I'm going to shorthand this, and it might seem a little bit funny. Part times part for the blue one, we're going to call that P times P is equal to P times P. So here's our first formula. We'll call it the PP formula. And really all we're doing is we're taking A and B and multiplying them together. And that's going to equal C and D multiplied together. All right, so that's our first formula right there. The next one we're going to look at is when we have these intersections that happen outside of the circle. Okay, so again, we're going to color code these just a little bit. So I'm going to make this secant line blue, and I'll make this tangent line blue. And we'll make this one orange. All right. Now, when we're dealing with secant lines, we have pieces that are outside of the circle and pieces that are inside of the circle. So this will be inside the circle. This will be outside of the circle. But we also need to be able to look at the whole secant line. When we're dealing with a tangent, however, since the whole tangent line is outside the circle, the outside and the whole will be the same number. Okay. Looking at the orange ones here, we'll have an inside piece and an outside piece. And when we put them together, that's how we get the whole. And on the other side, we have an inside piece and an outside piece. And when we put them together, we call that the whole secant. All right. So for this formula, what we have to do is we have to take the outside of the blue secant and multiply it by the whole secant. We also have to take the outside of the orange one and multiply it by the whole orange one. And when we do that, they end up being equal to each other. So for this formula, when we shorthand it, this is outside times the whole thing is equal to outside times the whole thing. Or we call this the OWOW formula. Now, just a little something here that you need to know. In order to get the whole, we have to take, write that down here, the whole is equal to outside plus the inside. This is very, very important, okay? We're not multiplying the outside and the inside. We're adding the outside and the inside in order to get these whole pieces that we need right there. On the next slide, you'll be watching a video example, and then you'll be trying a couple of problems on your own.